Coach Mark Heeter came to Triton High School in the fall of 1989. A 1982 graduate of Concord High School, Mark participated in basketball and baseball. He went on to earn a bachelor's degree in secondary education at Manchester College. While at Manchester, Mark played basketball for 3 years. Mark began teaching sociology and U.S. history at Triton in 1989. It was at this time that he also began his coaching career at Triton. Mark began by coaching JV volleyball for 3 seasons. That's right, JV volleyball. He also coached the girls' JV basketball team for 1 season before becoming the varsity coach during the 1990-1991 season. His 14-year career as the girls' varsity basketball coach, Mark compiled 208 wins and 98 losses. He racked up 6 NSC championships, 5 sectional championships, 2 regional championships, 2 semi-state championships, and 2 back-to-back state championships. It's okay, you can laugh if they're funny. Mark is the longest tenured and all-time winningest coach in Triton girls basketball history. Coach Heeter is a great teacher, coach, contributor, and an even better person. We thank Coach Heeter for his many years of service. Accepting the award tonight is Coach Mark Heeter himself. At this time, I officially induct Coach Mark Heeter into the Triton Athletic Hall of Fame. And I thank him for his years of service, and he just handed me his note cards that he told me in the back he wanted me to read, but too bad. You're doing it on your own.
Thanks. I was going to try and pull a bill, but, you know, Mason said we couldn't, so I guess we'll do our best up here. Boy, I really feel honored. You know, after hearing these stories about Bill and Ken, it really humbles you to have this opportunity to be in front of all of you. And I know some of my former players are here, and it's something to, you know, the words can't express, you know, and I appreciate, obviously, the Hall of Fame committee considering me for this honor. You know, I feel kind of old now, but and I am getting up there, but it's wonderful, and I think they've done a nice job of, you know, really picking people that certainly the other ones, I don't know so much about myself, but the other people that are being inducted it's, you know, certainly very deserving. And please don't laugh at those pictures, but I'm telling you, the shorts, that's one of the biggest things. I wish I would have played when our shorts were a little longer, because whew, these are some ugly things we used to wear back then, I'll tell you. A lot of thank yous. Mason does a wonderful job of putting this thing together, and I think everyone should certainly, if you get a chance, say something to him about what he is able to do with this Hall of Fame, and has done an outstanding job and will for many, many years to come. I'm so honored to be inducted with Bill. Bill drove our bus for the girls basketball team for as long as I can remember, and just did a great job and drove for both state championship games. And Perry and I were just reminiscing about one incident when we were on 465 that was kind of interesting. I won't get into any further specifics, but we really enjoyed having Bill drive, and I'm sure the girls that drove with him, and many of you probably did, could say the same about Bill. I also want to thank the community. One of the things that struck me when I got down here to Triton is the support is unbelievable. And, you know, not just for basketball or girls basketball, but for all of our sports. It's really, what, too bad? I'm sure there's some very flattering pictures up there. But the support that we had, certainly, you know, when you're winning, it tends to be a little bit better. But one thing that has always struck me, when we were coming home from our first state championship, and the fire trucks came out, and we drove through each of the 3 communities, and there were people standing out there with signs and, you know, cheering all the way, you know, as we started to pull into our school district. And it was just, and then we got back to the school and got off the bus, and everybody was there, and the gym was packed, and it really was unbelievable what the people of, you know, the Triton School Corporation were willing to do and come out and show our support. And we continue to do that all the time. I mean, went to the game last night. It was a packed house. And that's what I really, truly believe the Triton community is all about. And they just do an unbelievable job. I need to thank the administration. It's much different now than when I was coaching, but Rex Roth and Ted Chittum and Glenn Widener, who were our main administrators, Mike Byron did a wonderful job of organizing everything, as I'm sure Mason did when the boys were making their runs as well. Of course, our secretaries, couldn't have done it without them. Karen's here, and Mindy Davis and Fran Flagel. And you know, as a teacher and a coach, you got to know where to go and who to, you know, suck up to get things. It's not, you know, Bob or Mike. It's Karen and Mindy and Kenny, the custodians. So we learned that early on in our coaching. Obviously, I wouldn't be up here if it wouldn't have been for all the players we had. And I've always maintained when people say stuff, I say good players make coaches look good. And we've had, as evidenced by Julie Lozier coming in here tonight, we've just had a string of outstanding girls basketball players come through this school. And for the size of school we are, it really is amazing. And I would like for all the girls that played for me, because I know there's a few here, I'd really like for them to stand up and for us to give them a round of applause, because without them, you know, I certainly wouldn't be here. Stand up. There's a few of them. And they got to look at some of those old pictures of themselves as well. Those are lovely, aren't they? I'm sure they would rather not see some of those, but another person I really have to honestly give a lot of credit for me being in this position is Coach Gail Perry. Perry was with me all 14 years. She was willing to have me as a JV volleyball coach, even though I knew nothing about volleyball. Jenny, my wife, who played in college, and actually Coach Perry had a chance to coach her when Jenny was in high school, she was, I mean, between the two, they got me through. And but I was bad. And I'm sure the girls that were here when I first started, they'd tell you the same thing. I could motivate, but I had no idea what I was talking about when it came to volleyball. But I've learned. You know, both my daughters played, and they did very well, so I've actually learned the game, and I would be a much better assistant to Coach Perry right now in volleyball. But we had, I think, a perfect relationship in our coaching. You know, we could play the good cop, bad cop when we needed to. She was, I mean, I never had to worry about anything organizationally because she took care of stuff. And I can't tell you how much I appreciated, Gail, all the help that you gave me while I was coaching. And we had some fun. We really did. I remember a time when we were struggling, that one year before we won the state. Perry stopped by my house unannounced, came in, we sat down. She had a little heart-to-heart with me because I was terribly frustrated. We were like 1-10, and you know, we had been doing so well for so long, and all of a sudden we're struggling. And she came in, and we had a little chat and changed some things, and it went much better after that, especially the next 2 years. But I really wanted to thank you, Gail, and I appreciate you being here tonight. I wanted to thank my daughters, Allie and Casey. Casey couldn't be here tonight. She's down at school in Florida. And, hey, for $10, we can buy the DVD, and that was cheaper than buying a plane ticket. So she'll appreciate watching that a little bit later on. But Allie was able to be here tonight, and I really appreciate my daughters putting up with probably my many bad moods. They may have seen as many games as anybody during the time I was coaching. They came to as many games as Jenny could haul them to. I remember one of the things that they couldn't wait for when they were younger was for the game to get over, because then that meant they could go out on the floor and start shooting around. And so they always looked forward to the game. Then Perry would wheel out the basketballs for them, and they and my nieces and nephews would go out and shoot around, and that would extend our night many times, but it was okay. It was really well worth it, and I think it benefited my daughters athletically. The last person I want to thank is my wife, Jenny. I couldn't have done this without her. You know, probably should have planned a little better. She had both of our daughters right at the beginning of the basketball season in November's as the season is kicking off, and that really wasn't very good planning. But that's not really my fault, I don't think. Maybe a little bit, but I really, really appreciate her, and her support throughout all the years that I've coached has been unbelievable. And I'm sure other coaches would, their spouses. It's tough. It's tough to be a coach's spouse, sitting in the stands sometimes. I'm sure there wasn't always a lot of nice things being said, but and you take that as a coach. You're not even hearing that stuff as a coach, but she does when she's sitting in the stands, and that's tough. And hauling the girls around everywhere, and I do really appreciate her sticking by me. Fortunately, I had a relatively long drive home after the game, and if it didn't go so well in the game, then I usually was yelling at myself in the car. And by the time I got home, then I'd like to think I was better. Maybe not completely, but I was better. I was looking for a quote, and was kind of, as Todd was talking, thinking, he's trying to come up with a way to start a speech as well. But this is a quote from Bob Knight, and I think it hopefully embodied a lot of the teams that I coached. The key is not the will to win, because everybody has that. Everybody wants to win. It is the will to prepare to win that is important. And if anybody knows me, I'm kind of competitive and overly competitive. I was yelling at the TV during the IU game. They're missing free throws down the stretch, and I'm thinking, geez, we got to hit those free throws or block out. And I'm sure it drives Jenny crazy too. But I tried to instill that in my players. I wanted them to be competitive. And sometimes I tried to make my daughters competitive too, and sometimes they're ultra competitive. And, I'll tell you one thing, Jenny and I never let them beat us at anything. So they learned early on, hey, we're out here to win. We're not gonna give them any slack, and unfortunately they'll probably take that on and do the same thing with their kids. But I think one thing that I've really appreciated is how the game of girls basketball especially has evolved, because I can remember going to games when I was at Concord, and I'll be honest with you, I thought it was terribly boring. I would never have wanted to really go or sit down and watch a girls' basketball game on TV, but I'm telling you what, the game has really come a long way, and I think a lot of the girls like Julie and the girls that play for me really have had a lot to do with changing the game and changing the way people think about the game of girls' basketball. Boys' basketball has been around forever and had a state tournament forever, but even Coach Perry, first few years she was in high school, she didn't even have that opportunity to play in a state tournament. And finally, near the end of her high school career, she did. But what a great change. The game has picked up in its intensity, its competitiveness, its speed, and it's an exciting game to watch. I honestly believe that. Now, I don't know, I'm sure I'm a little biased. I coached it for a long time. I had 2 daughters, but if you honestly can sit back and think about it, it is an exciting game. And I think it's something that hopefully more and more people will continue to get into, going to girls' basketball games and supporting girls' basketball on every level. And with that, I wanted to just mention this because obviously, again, this may never have happened had we never went to class basketball. And I'm sure there's a lot of diehards out there that would like to see the one-class system. And hey, I played in the one-class system. Never had the success as a player that I was fortunate enough to have as a coach. But, certainly for Triton, going to the class system has been an unbelievable opportunity for us. And talk about embracing the opportunity that we've had once we went to class sports. We always were very competitive. In every sport, we were competitive when we had to go over to Warsaw and play Warsaw or Columbia City in basketball. But I feel very grateful that we finally went to that and gave these girls, and not just our girls, but everybody an opportunity to even experience more success. And honestly, all of our sports have benefited. Girls basketball is not the only sport. Boys basketball, football, baseball won state. Perry took the volleyball team down to state 2 times. We have truly benefited from going to class sports. And I hope I don't offend any of the people that would like to see it one class, but I just want to say I'm very pleased that it has been class, and hopefully we continue to keep it that way. I got to hurry up because my daughter has to leave here to go to work in just a little bit. So if she gets up and leaves during the middle, she's not mad at me or being rude. She has to get going. But I thought I should talk just briefly about both state games, coached a lot of games, over 300 games, and there's a lot more games that obviously that are very memorable for me, but those two were pretty exciting. And the first year was the 99-2000 season. It probably didn't look like we were going to go that way. We started off 7-6, lost a heartbreaker at Bremen. We were up 13 in that game and blew it. Isn't it funny how coaches can remember stuff like that? Jenny, I can remember sports and that happened, 14 years ago, but I get to the grocery store and I have to call her now. What was I supposed to pick up? I'm sorry. I can't remember. But in that first state game, and I'm going to complain again, but we were up 11 points in the third quarter. And it had the ball 3 or 4 times. We had 3 or 4 possessions where we could have extended the lead and probably, it would have been over. And we didn't. And we let them back in the game. And then we were still up 8 with 4 minutes to go in the game. So you're feeling pretty good. We're going to be all right. All of a sudden, they tied up, goes into overtime. Now we're down 6 with a minute to go. And I'm sitting there on a bench, and I feel bad that I was thinking this, but thinking, second place isn't so bad. We got a runner-up. That's not horrible. And one of the Rising Sun girls is knocking down 2 free throws to put the lead at 6. And I remember looking over at Misty Nifong and saying, hey, we got to, or I can't even remember what her married name is. Sorry, I always call the girls by when they played. But Missy Nifong, I looked at her, I said, we're going to have to start hitting some threes. And, within 15 seconds or 20 seconds, she's hit 2 threes to tie it up. They miss a couple of free throws in between the 2 threes, and now we have a great defensive possession. We got the ball back with 15 seconds to go, and of course Amber Feldman hits the game winner at the buzzer, and we win 57-54 in overtime, and it was, wow. That was quite a feeling, and like I said, I never really had that kind of success in high school or college. In fact, my college team went 2-25 my senior year. So one more win than what Todd's team had his senior year. That was, and I think as a coach that kind of motivated me. I didn't want to go through that again. And so, it was, and, Todd said a lot of stuff that made me think, man, maybe I was not doing things quite the right way. And was it about me or was it about trying to make the girls better? And I hope I was doing things the right way. Now, the second state game was a lot less stressful. We got off to a 16-0 lead, which was fantastic. You can kind of, all right, we're in pretty good shape here. But I don't think we get off to that 16-0 lead if it hadn't have been for Larry Lemler. I made some phone calls Sunday after we had, won the semi-state on Saturday night, and called a number of coaches down in southern Indiana to see if I could get some game film. And Larry was gracious enough to get up early Monday morning, and he drove down, must have driven over 500 miles, literally. I'm sure he'd tell you it had to be 500 miles at least, picking up 8 or 9 different game films, and got them back to me by Monday night. Perry and I started breaking them down, and we really had a very good game plan for that particular game. Not that we didn't game plan for all of our games, but I don't think I ever had like 9 tapes to look at. And I really appreciate what Larry did for us and for the girls, because obviously it benefited when you get up 16-0 and we're up 20-3 at the end of the first quarter, and we pretty well sailed the rest of the way and ended up winning 55-38. So a lot of the credit for that state championship, you got to look over here at Larry and thank him, because those tapes definitely came in handy. A couple other things. Allie, you got enough time? Nope, she's got to go. That means I've talked for probably 20 minutes already. See ya. Be careful. Common sense prevails. I think the girls' basketball team heard that a few times too. But I want to talk a little bit about the girls that played. And, you know, Jenny and I were fortunate to have two very athletic daughters. And, you know, I'd like to think she and I had a little something to do with that. Probably more her than me. But, you know, one of the things that I need to do is give credit to all the girls that played for me when Allie and Casey were little kids running around. You know, my daughters absolutely loved hanging around with the older girls. And I appreciate them taking them in, and you know, it was a wonderful experience for my daughters to grow up. You know, and honestly, if the rules were the way they are now, I would guess certainly my younger daughter Casey would have, well, and Allie probably would have too. They'd have come to Triton, you know, because I could have brought them to school every day, and that would have been great as well. But you know, I appreciate what the girls did for my girls. And it had a tremendous impact on them. My daughter Casey, like I said, she goes to school in Florida. She was heading back after Christmas break on January 2nd down in the Indianapolis airport. Jenny and I had just dropped her off. And all of a sudden, Jenny gets a call and says, "Hey, does Missy Nifong have 2 kids?" And Missy Nifong happened to get off the plane with her family. And I don't think Casey had the opportunity to talk to her, but I mean, she hadn't seen her probably for 13 years, and picked her right out. Called Jenny and said, "Hey, I think I just saw Missy Nifong." You know, that's the kind of impact the girls had on my daughters, and you know, it's just so rewarding when you have that type of relationship. You know, and I appreciate all the girls being able to do that for me. One last story, and you know, people have often asked, "Well, why did you quit? Why did you retire?" And you know, it's something I don't know if I didn't want to retire or quit or get out of girls basketball, but I want to say it was during a sectional week of practice, and we probably had late practice or something because, you know, we have to share the gym with the boys, and or go to the old gym or go to the elementary, and that sometimes isn't, you know, that's not the funnest thing to do. But we had late practice, and Allie had a basketball game. She was in 7th grade. First real organized, you know, junior high basketball. And I called Jenny to see how Allie was doing. And Allie goes, or Jenny said, "Allie's just having a great game. She's having a great game. Oh, I wish you could be here. She's, you know, scoring and playing great defense." And I tell you what, inside I was crushed. And, you know, I was thinking, I should be watching my daughter play. And, you know, it was at that moment that I decided, you know, as much as I love doing this, I love my daughters and my family, and I gotta go watch them. And so it wouldn't have been. I'm sure I went and talked to Perry about it and told her, and at that point, actually, we went out together, which was kind of nice. But you know, I can't believe that was 9 years ago that Allie was playing in that game, and called my wife and heard how well she was doing, and I miss it. I miss it a lot, but I don't regret getting out, because I would have really missed a lot more of my daughters and growing up. And, you know, parents, you know, it doesn't last very long. And just like that, they're off in college or off leaving for work or doing something else. So, again, I really want to thank everybody involved in this. This is something very special to me, and I also want to congratulate all the other inductees, and I hope they understand that this is a wonderful honor, and I mean, certainly for me, considering all the great athletes that have gone through Triton, and then not even Triton, but Bourbon and Tippecanoe and Etna Green. You know, I feel very blessed and very humbled to have had this opportunity. So thanks again to Mason and to the Hall of Fame committee for selecting me for this year's Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Mark took us to places we've never been at the Triton Athletic Hall of Fame with some of his stories tonight. Too much information, Mark. One of the things I was going to kind of poke fun about with Mark, and I decided not to do it, and then Todd kind of brought it up again, so I thought I really should, was that I can remember watching Mark dunking basketballs when I was probably about this tall. I can't remember if the staff was playing the students or what it was, but there was some kind of a game going on, and Mark was just going up 2 hands and just throwing it down. Can you still do that? No.
8 foot real.
Oh. Well, maybe we could try that later. I have a lot of memories of Mark as a teacher. He taught me that question that I asked Todd earlier about the Constitution. What was that, Todd, all that stuff? Mark taught me that one time, but I must have forgot it because I can't remember it like you did. My most memorable moment, though, with Mark, obviously, is probably the same for all of you, and it was one that he talked about tonight when those girls won that state championship in overtime and you thought it was over. And it was the typical Hoosier story, all with the game-winning shot and everything. So that's just an awesome experience that paved the way for us to win 3 more state championships as a school corporation. And I think that that's outstanding, and I thank you, Mark, for setting the way and showing those coaches that it can be done and how it should be done. So I thank you, Mark, for all that you've done for Triton Athletics.